The starship Aurora cut silently through the endless black of space, its hull glinting faintly under distant starlight. Inside, the crew worked quietly, each focused on their tasks, but Dr. Mara Hayes had a restless feeling she couldn't shake. She had been assigned as the ship's xenobiologist and handler, a role she loved. But today felt different. Something was coming, something unusual. Their sensors had picked up a faint life signal on a small rocky planet in a nearby system. It was weak and erratic, but alive. The ship's AI, called Iris, confirmed it. Life form detected. Signal irregular. Species unknown, it reported. Captain Rylan, a steady man with graying hair, called a meeting in the bridge. "Dr. Hayes, you'll be leading this," he said. "Whatever we find, we bring it aboard for study. I want it handled carefully. No mistakes." Mara nodded. Her heart beat faster, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had dealt with many alien species, but something about this reading felt different. When the Aurora landed on the rocky surface, Mara suited up and stepped onto the planet. The air was thin but breathable, with a faint metallic scent. The life signal led her to a small cave, hidden behind jagged rocks. There, huddled in a corner, was the creature. It looked like a cat, but not like any cat Mara had ever seen. Its fur shimmered in colors she could barely describe. Soft blues, greens, and faint purples that seemed to glow faintly in the dim cave light. Its eyes were large and round, filled with intelligence and fear. The alien trembled, clearly injured, but it didn't try to attack. Instead, it stared at Mara as if it could understand every word she said. Mara crouched slowly, keeping her hands low. "Hey there," she said softly. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." She reached out, and the alien sniffed her fingers, then leaned forward slightly. She felt a spark of connection, a strange, warm feeling she couldn't explain. "Iris," she said quietly, "can you scan it?" The AI hummed and began to analyze. Data poured onto her wrist screen. The creature had a high metabolism, a complex neural network, and an unusual form of bioluminescence. But the most alarming readout was its health status: terminal. Mara frowned. "It's sick, very sick." Gently, she wrapped it in a soft containment blanket she always carried for alien rescues. The creature allowed her to hold it without struggle, curling its small body into hers. Its fur glowed brighter for a moment, and Mara could swear she felt its heartbeat sync with her own. Back on the ship, the medbay was prepared for the alien's arrival. Mara laid it carefully on a soft platform, speaking in calming tones. "We'll take care of you," she promised. But the scanners were merciless. Lumo, as the crew decided to call it, was fading fast. Its organs were failing, and there was nothing in the ship's medical database that could reverse the condition. Captain Rylan entered the room, concern etched across his face. "What's the situation?" he asked. Mara sighed. "It's serious, sir," she said. "It's species. I don't even know if we have a name for it yet, but biologically it's failing. We could try experimental treatments, but they're risky. We might only prolong its suffering." The captain nodded slowly. "And if we do nothing?" Mara's voice was soft. "Then it will die naturally, soon." For a moment, silence filled the room. Lumo shifted slightly, lifting its glowing head toward Mara, as if sensing the weight of their decisions. Its eyes were sad, but trusting. Mara felt a pang in her chest. She had studied aliens for years, but she had never felt this kind of connection before. Over the next few hours, Mara observed Lumo closely. She tried simple stimuli, soft sounds, gentle touches, and even light patterns. The creature responded with small paw gestures, subtle shifts in its glowing fur, and a quiet, purring-like vibration. Mara realized it was not only intelligent but deeply emotional. It could feel fear, comfort, and maybe even hope. Despite knowing its time was short, Mara spent hours holding Lumo, whispering to it and learning its habits. She discovered that certain frequencies made its fur glow brighter, almost like it was expressing happiness. When she hummed softly, it would lean into her, pressing its tiny body against hers. The rest of the crew watched cautiously. Engineer Jax muttered, "It's just an animal, right? Why are we wasting so much time?" Mara shot him a look. "It's not just an animal, Jax. Look at it. It understands. It reacts. There's something extraordinary here. We can't just write it off." Even the captain seemed moved, though he kept his voice firm. "We have to balance research with responsibility, Mara. Don't forget that." Mara nodded. She knew they were right, but she also felt a stubborn hope. Lumo's species might hold secrets they didn't understand yet. Its intelligence was unusual for such a small creature, and its glowing patterns hinted at complex communication. As night fell on the planet's surface outside the medbay windows, Mara sat in the soft glow of Lumo's fur. She gently stroked it, feeling warmth radiate from its tiny body. She whispered softly, "We'll figure this out. Somehow, we'll find a way." Lumo responded by nuzzling her hand, a gesture so human-like that Mara almost cried. In that moment, she made a silent promise. She would not let this creature die alone. She would fight for it, even if it meant defying protocol. The ship hummed quietly around them, a reminder that the universe was vast, and life, even the smallest, most fragile, form was precious. Mara held Lumo close, unaware that the creature's final hours would bring a discovery that could change everything they knew about life, intelligence, and the bond between species. And so, the first chapter of their journey began. A fragile, glowing alien in the hands of a human who refused to give up, even when the odds were impossible. The medbay was quiet, except for the soft hum of the starship's systems and the gentle purring vibration coming from Lumo's small body. Dr. Mara Hayes had stayed by its side almost the entire day, learning its patterns, its tiny gestures, and its subtle responses. The alien's glow shifted from blue to green depending on its mood, and Mara began to notice small signals it sent almost like words, though she could not yet understand them. Lumo had started to trust her completely. When Mara extended her hand, it would press its tiny paw against her fingers. When she hummed a soft tune, its fur pulsed in rhythm. These were small things, but Mara felt them deeply. This was not just an animal. This was a creature capable of thought, of emotion. She thought of the stories she had read about human explorers discovering new intelligent life, and now she was living one of those stories firsthand. Captain Rylan entered the medbay once more. "How is it?" he asked quietly, trying not to disturb Lumo. Mara glanced up. "Better than expected, actually. It's calm, responding to touch and sound. I think it understands more than we realized." The captain studied the glowing creature. "We still have to consider the timeline. Its species is failing, and we can't afford to waste resources." Mara shook her head firmly. "We're not wasting resources. We're learning. Look at it. It's showing intelligence. I believe it's trying to communicate with us. If we give up now, we'll lose more than a life. We'll lose knowledge we may never get again." The captain sighed, but did not argue. Mara knew he respected her judgment. She returned her attention to Lumo, who seemed to sense the conversation. Its glowing fur flickered softly, almost like a tiny signal in response. Mara carefully picked up a small stylus from her kit and gently placed it near Lumo's paw. At first, Lumo didn't react. Then, slowly, it touched the stylus with its tiny paw and made a movement across a smooth panel Mara had prepared. Lines of faint light appeared, shifting and pulsing. Mara's heart raced. She had seen something similar in her research notes, a primitive form of writing or symbol communication, but this was far more advanced than anything she had expected. "Iris, record this," she whispered. The AI immediately began documenting every movement, capturing the subtle changes in Lumo's fur color and neural activity. Hours passed, and Mara experimented with simple communication techniques. She hummed different notes, tapped small rhythms, and displayed colored lights. Each time, Lumo responded with movements, glowing pulses, or soft vibrations. It was as if it was learning the system, trying to answer back. Mara could almost feel its thoughts brushing against her mind, tiny sparks of understanding. Later, during a quiet moment, Mara held Lumo in her lap. The alien's fur pulsed gently against her hand. "You're stronger than anyone gives you credit for," she whispered. She could sense the faint trembling in its body, not from fear, but from weakness. Time was against them. She knew that Lumo might not have many days, maybe only hours left if its condition worsened. Despite this, Mara refused to give up. She began running simulations, experimenting with regenerative treatments that might stabilize its condition temporarily. She knew she could not cure Lumo completely, but she might buy enough time to learn more about its species. Engineer Jax peeked into the med bay. "I don't get it," he said, scratching his head. "It's just an alien pet. Why are we spending all this time playing with lights and colors?" Mara looked at him patiently. "It's not just a pet, Jax. This creature is showing intelligence. It's responding to stimuli, learning patterns, and trying to communicate. If we study it carefully, we might discover something that could help its species, or even others. There's more here than meets the eye." Jax shrugged but left without another word. Mara returned to her work, adjusting the lights and touch panels. Lumo moved its tiny paws carefully, interacting with the interface, as if it knew exactly what it was doing. Mara felt a thrill of discovery. This was something extraordinary. Late into the ship's artificial night cycle, Mara noticed something new. Lumo began making small sequences of movements repeatedly, almost like a rhythm. Its fur glowed in a repeating pattern. Mara quickly realized that it was not random. "You're sending me a message," she whispered, her eyes wide. "You're trying to tell me something." She recorded every movement, overlaying it with the pulsing light signals. For hours, she tried to decode the sequence, comparing it to known alien communication patterns. Lumo stayed patient, resting in her arms between attempts, its tiny body still weak but determined. By dawn, Mara had a breakthrough. The pattern wasn't just random. There were repeated clusters that resembled numeric or symbolic sequences. Could it be a code, a message, or perhaps instructions of some kind? She didn't know yet, but she was certain of one thing. Lumo was far smarter than anyone had suspected, and the alien was trying to convey information before it became too weak to do so. Mara looked down at Lumo, her glowing companion, and smiled softly. "We'll figure this out," she promised. The creature blinked slowly, as if acknowledging her words. Its tiny body pressed closer, and Mara felt warmth and trust radiating from it. She knew they were forming a bond that went beyond simple caretaker and patient. It was a partnership, a connection between two intelligent beings from different worlds. That night, Mara stayed with Lumo, letting it rest on her lap as she monitored its vital signs. She whispered stories of the stars, of humanity's first steps into space, and of the hope she carried for every life they encountered. Lumo's fur pulsed gently in response, glowing brighter when she hummed a soft tune. Though the aliens' life was fragile, Mara felt a deep certainty. They had discovered something remarkable, something beyond science alone. In this small, shimmering creature lay a spark of intelligence, trust, and perhaps even wisdom. And she knew that whatever happened next, she would not abandon it. In the quiet glow of the medbay, human and alien shared a connection neither fully understood, a bond that would shape the days to come. The journey had only begun, and already Mara sensed that Lumo's presence would change not only their mission, but the very way humanity understood life beyond their own world. Days had passed since Lumo had been rescued from the rocky planet, and Dr. Mara Hayes had grown even more attached to the small alien. Every time she entered the med bay, the tiny feline-like creature would lift its glowing eyes to meet hers, its fur pulsing softly like a heartbeat of its own. Despite her best care, however, Lumo's condition was deteriorating. Its body was weaker than before, and its movements became slower and more deliberate. The ship's medical scanners delivered. Sobering news! Lumo's organs were failing rapidly, and standard treatments had only limited effect. Even Mara's experimental stabilizers could not promise long-term recovery. She felt a growing urgency in her chest, knowing that the time to act was slipping away. Captain Rylan entered the medbay with his usual calm, but the weight of command was clear in his expression. "Dr. Hayes," he said softly, "we may need to consider the inevitable. We can't put the ship's resources at risk for one life, however intelligent it may be." Mara shook her head. "I understand the risks, sir, but I think we're missing something. Lumo is trying to communicate. Its gestures, its fur patterns, they aren't random. There's intelligence there, possibly important information. We can't give up yet." The captain studied Lumo, whose glow flickered weakly, almost as if it understood the conversation. "I will give you 24 hours, he finally said. "But after that, we may have to follow protocol. Don't waste time." Mara nodded solemnly. She felt the weight of responsibility more than ever. She carefully held Lumo, feeling the tiny creature press its small body against her, seeking comfort and warmth. Its purring vibration was faint but persistent, a fragile rhythm against the chaos of failing health. Over the next several hours, Mara observed Lumo closely. She noticed subtle movements that she hadn't seen before, small paw gestures, pressing against the medbay panels in a rhythmic pattern. Sometimes it would nudge the controls in unusual ways, almost deliberately. Mara's heart raced. These weren't accidental actions. Lumo was trying to send a message. "Iris, amplify the neural and motion scans," Mara instructed. The AI responded immediately, analyzing every gesture, every pulse of Lumo's glowing fur, and every movement of its small body. Data streamed across Mara's screen, patterns forming, sequences emerging. She realized that Lumo was using its body and fur to communicate complex ideas, possibly instructions or knowledge from its species. As she worked, Mara began to understand that Lumo's intelligence was extraordinary. Even a dying creature could make patterns and signals sophisticated enough to encode information. Her mind raced with possibilities. Could this tiny being hold secrets that might benefit its species, or even others in the galaxy? Meanwhile, the crew grew restless. Engineer Jax voiced his frustration. "It's just an alien animal. Why are we wasting all this time on guessing games?" Mara looked at him firmly. "It's not guessing. It's communication. You don't see it, but it's intelligent. And if we ignore it, we might lose something important, knowledge that no one else will ever have." Jax shrugged, but said nothing more. Mara returned to her work, carefully documenting Lumo's movements. The alien responded to her attention, pressing its tiny paws in small, repeated sequences and tilting its head to follow her gestures. She noticed that Lumo's fur pulsed brighter when she mimicked its movements, almost as if it recognized the effort. Late in the artificial night, Lumo made a movement that took Mara's breath away. The tiny creature extended its front paws, pressing them against the medbay panel in a precise sequence. Its glowing fur flashed in short bursts, creating a pattern that repeated 3 times. Mara leaned closer, scanning the sequences with heightened focus. These were not random symbols. They were intentional, carefully constructed. "It's trying to tell me something," she whispered, holding Lumo gently. It's giving us a message. Her excitement was tempered by worry. Lumo's body was frail and every movement required effort. Its breathing was shallow, and the once bright glow of its fur had dimmed significantly. Mara knew that if they did not act soon, they could lose the alien forever. But at the same time, she sensed urgency in Lumo's gestures, a desire to communicate. Before it was too late, the ship's AI suggested automated sequences to decode Lumo's signals, but Mara refused to leave it to machines alone. She held Lumo in her lap, guiding its tiny paws on the panel, trying to understand the meaning behind the movements. Each flicker of fur, each subtle paw gesture was a clue, a glimpse into a mind vastly different from humans, yet capable of connection. As hours passed, Mara began to piece together fragments of the alien's message. Though incomplete, she could sense instructions, perhaps related to biological knowledge or even a way to stabilize its failing systems. Her heart raced. If she could fully decode this, they might have a chance, not just to save Lumo, but to gain insight into its species and maybe even unlock knowledge far beyond current human understanding. Despite the progress, the clock was ticking. Mara felt the weight of the captain's deadline pressing down. Lumo's fragile body shivered slightly in her arms, and its glow dimmed with every breath. She whispered soothing words. Hold on, Lumo. I promise. I won't give up. Then, something remarkable happened. Lumo's paw twitched deliberately, nudging a panel in a way Mara hadn't seen before. She realized that it was trying to draw her attention to a specific scanner output. Quickly, she examined the readout and noticed an unusual biosignal emanating from the alien. It was faint, but it pulsed in patterns that seemed almost intelligent. Mara's mind raced. Could this signal be the key? Could it be a form of communication, or perhaps a hidden biological function that held critical information? The possibilities were endless, but time was short. Captain Rylan entered again, seeing the concentrated look on Mara's face. Status? He asked. Mara lifted Lumo gently, showing the faint signal on her screen. Look at this. It's responding to certain frequencies. I think it's trying to communicate something crucial. If we euthanize it now, we'll never know what it's trying to tell us. The captain's stern face softened slightly. He glanced at the small glowing creature in Mara's arms. For a moment he said nothing. Finally he nodded. Then continue, but be quick. We have little time. Mara nodded, feeling renewed determination. She held Lumo close, feeling the warmth of its tiny body and the faint rhythm of its pulse. She whispered softly, We'll find your message, Lumo, I promise. Just hold on a little longer. And so, with Lumo's fragile body glowing faintly. In her arms, Mara began the race against time, determined to decode the alien's final communication. Every pulse, every paw gesture, and every flicker of fur could hold secrets that might change the way humanity understood intelligence, empathy, and life beyond Earth. The decision to euthanize hovered over them, a shadow of protocol and fear, but Mara refused to let it fall. Lumo's last moments could hold answers the galaxy had never seen, and she would not let them slip away. The medbay was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship and the faint, uneven breathing of Lumo. Dr. Mara Hayes held the tiny alien in her arms, watching its shimmering fur pulse weakly. Its once bright glow had dimmed further over the past hours. And Mara knew that Lumo's body was near its limit. Every breath it took seemed like a struggle, yet its eyes still followed hers with intelligence and trust. Mara gently stroked Lumo's soft fur. You've tried so hard, little one, she whispered. I promise we'll understand you. We'll find your message. Lumo trembled slightly, as if responding to her words, and then did something unexpected. It slowly reached out with its tiny front paws, curling them around Mara's wrist in a gesture so human-like that her heart ached. Its glowing fur flared briefly, brightening in soft blues and greens, as if sharing all the warmth and trust it had left. Mara's eyes filled with emotion. She had handled many alien species, some intelligent, some not. But this moment was different. Lumo was not just communicating, it was expressing connection, a final hug from a being facing its own end. Mara wrapped her arms tighter around it, feeling the tiny body press against hers, pulsing faintly in rhythm with her own heartbeat. "Hold on, Lumo," she whispered. "Just a little longer. We can do this together." For a few quiet minutes, the room seemed suspended in time. Lumo's glow flickered in gentle waves, and Mara could almost sense its thoughts brushing against her mind, like faint sparks she could not yet fully interpret. It was sending something, she was certain of it, but the patterns were subtle, hidden in the rhythm of its paws and the pulsing of its fur. Then Mara noticed something extraordinary. The faint biosignal she had observed earlier, the one that pulsed in strange patterns, began reacting more strongly to the touch of her hands. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but with careful observation she saw it. The signal was fluctuating in a deliberate rhythm, as if Lumo's nervous system was encoding a message in real time. Her breath caught. This could be it," she whispered. She quickly adjusted the medbay's scanners to monitor the signal more closely. Every tiny movement of Lumo's paws, every flicker of fur, seemed to influence the pattern. Mara realized that Lumo was not just weakly responding, it was actively sending information, perhaps instructions or knowledge from its species. Captain Rylan entered quietly, sensing the intensity of the moment. "Status?" he asked softly. Mara held Lumo closer, eyes fixed on the scanners. "Captain, it's doing something amazing. Its biosignals are forming a complex sequence. It's trying to communicate. If we go ahead with the euthanasia, we'll lose this. We could lose knowledge that might save its species, or even others." The captain's stern expression softened. He looked down at Lumo, its small body trembling slightly, yet still radiating a gentle glow. "You have a point," he said quietly. "We'll pause. But we don't have much time." Mara nodded, focusing on the tiny creature in her arms. She gently encouraged Lumo's movements, guiding its paws on a smooth interface she had prepared. The alien seemed to respond, pressing in delicate sequences and pulsing its glowing fur in patterns that she could almost recognize. Each movement was precise, intentional, and full of meaning. Hours passed in this delicate dance. Mara, holding Lumo close, began to decode fragments of the message embedded in its neural and biosignals. The information was astonishing. Complex data about its species' biology, ways to stabilize failing systems, and hints at regenerative processes never seen before by human science. Even as its body weakened, Lumo continued, tirelessly sending the message in small bursts, as if knowing this was its last chance. Its trust in Mara, its faith that she would understand, gave her courage. She whispered softly, "You're incredible, Lumo. I promise I see you. I understand you." Finally, after a long and exhausting effort, the last patterns completed themselves. Lumo's glow brightened briefly one last time, as if signaling relief or satisfaction. Then it settled against Mara's chest, trembling but calm, exhausted from the effort of communicating. Mara held the tiny creature close, her eyes misty. "You did it," she whispered. "You told us. You shared your knowledge." She looked up at the captain, her voice steady but full of emotion. "This is bigger than we imagined. If we had ended its life earlier, all of this would have been lost." The captain nodded solemnly, understanding the significance of what had just occurred. "You were right, Dr. Hayes," he said. "Its life, brief as it may be, held more than we could have imagined. We were wrong to rush. Mara gently placed Lumo in a soft containment pod, now stabilized but still fragile. She continued to monitor its vital signs, ensuring it remained safe while they processed the extraordinary data it had provided. The tiny alien's final moments had revealed secrets that could change the way humans understood life, intelligence, and biology in the galaxy. Sitting back, Mara allowed herself a quiet smile. The medbay was filled with the gentle hum of the ship, the faint pulsing glow of Lumo, and the sense of awe that comes from witnessing something truly remarkable. A dying alien had given humanity a gift, a chance to learn, to grow, and to connect. Across worlds, for Mara, it was a reminder of why humans explored the stars. Curiosity, empathy, and courage could reveal wonders beyond imagination. In Lumo's fragile body, she had seen the strength of life, the brilliance of intelligence, and the power of trust. And as the ship continued its silent journey through the endless black of space, Mara knew one thing clearly. This was only the beginning. The bond between human and alien, fragile as it was, had opened a door to knowledge and hope that could span the galaxy. The medbay was alive with quiet energy. Dr. Mara Hayes sat at the interface, her hands moving across controls as she analyzed the complex biosignals from Lumo. The tiny alien rested in a soft containment pod beside her, its faint glow pulsing, slowly, a fragile heartbeat of life. Though weak, it was stable for the first time in days. Mara had spent hours decoding the patterns embedded in Lumo's neural and biosignals. Each pulse, each flicker of fur, had been a message, a gift of knowledge from a dying creature. Now, for the first time, the sequences began to form something coherent. They were instructions, hints of biological processes far beyond human understanding. "This is incredible," Mara whispered, leaning closer to the screen. "It's not just communication, it's a blueprint." Engineer Jax entered the medbay, glancing at Mara and the softly glowing alien. "Still playing with your glowing cat?" he said with a half-smile, but even he couldn't hide his curiosity. Mara didn't look up. "It's more than a cat, Jax. Lumo has given us sequences, instructions on its biology. Some of this, it's regenerative. I think it could stabilize its species. If we interpret it correctly, it could even save them from extinction." Jax froze. "Wait, are you saying this little guy has the key to saving its entire species?" Mara nodded. "Exactly. But it's complicated. We have fragments, patterns, and hints, but we have to decode the full message before we can use it." The captain entered the medbay quietly, observing the scene. "Status?" he asked. Mara turned to him, eyes shining with excitement and concern. "We can't euthanize it, sir. Not yet. The signals. Lumo is giving us knowledge. If we end its life now, all of this could vanish. We have to stabilize it and finish decoding." The captain nodded slowly. "I understand, Dr. Hayes. Proceed carefully. We don't know what we're dealing with, but I trust your judgment." Mara turned her attention back to the interface, focusing on the sequences. Lumo's faint, purring-like vibration continued, pulsing in soft waves of light. It was almost as if the alien knew it was being understood, that its effort was not in vain. Mara gently stroked the soft fur through the containment pod's barrier. "We see you, Lumo. We understand. You've done something amazing." Over. The next few hours, Mara began testing small regenerative protocols on Lumo, guided by the encoded signals. Each adjustment was tentative. Lumo's body was fragile, and any mistake could be fatal. Yet, with each slight intervention, the tiny alien responded. Its glow pulsed brighter, its weak breathing steadied, and Mara felt hope rise in her chest. The AI, Iris, provided real-time calculations and suggested modifications to the protocols. But Mara insisted on doing most of the work manually, trusting her instincts and her connection with Lumo. "We can't just rely on machines," she said softly. "It's alive. It's intelligent. We have to listen to it." Finally, a breakthrough came. Mara noticed a particular sequence in Lumo's biosignals that correlated directly with its vital stabilization. Following the pattern carefully, she applied a precise energy frequency through the medbay equipment. The effect was immediate. Lumo's glow brightened significantly, and its tiny body relaxed for the first time in days. "It worked," Mara whispered, tears of relief forming in her eyes. "You did it, Lumo. We're not giving up. Not now, not ever." The crew gathered quietly to observe. Even Jax, who had been skeptical, looked impressed. "I can't believe it," he admitted. "It's actually working." Mara smiled, but her mind raced. The data Lumo had provided was more than just a stabilization protocol. It hinted at regenerative processes that could be applied to its species. If interpreted correctly, the patterns could unlock medical knowledge far beyond current human science. Mara realized that the tiny creature, once thought helpless, was a teacher offering the gift of survival to an entire civilization. She began organizing the sequences into a usable format, documenting every flicker of fur, every neural pulse, every movement of its tiny paws. The message was complex, layered with redundancy and subtle cues, but Mara was determined. Lumo's last moments of life were not wasted. They were a bridge to hope. Late into the ship's night cycle, Mara paused to hold Lumo gently. The alien's glow pulsed softly against her hand. She whispered, "You've given us more than life, Lumo. You've given us hope, knowledge, and trust. We'll honor that." The captain returned once more. "How is it?" he asked. Mara looked up, exhaustion and exhilaration in her eyes. "Better than I could have imagined. Lumo is stable, and we've decoded the majority of the sequences. If we follow the protocols it's given us, we can start working toward regenerating its species. This tiny being, it's a gift, a teacher, and a reminder of why we explore the stars." Captain Ryland nodded, understanding the significance of her words. "Then let's make sure we don't waste this opportunity. Humanity has a chance to learn, thanks to its courage, and yours." Mara glanced down at Lumo, whose faint glow now seemed steady, almost serene. For a moment she allowed herself to imagine the possibilities. A species saved, knowledge expanded, and the connection between humans and intelligent alien life strengthened. Lumo had trusted her in its final moments, and that trust had given humanity a chance to achieve something extraordinary. As she carefully monitored the tiny alien, Mara felt a sense of awe. A dying creature had reached across the gulf of species difference and shared the secrets of life itself. And in that gift, she saw the best of humanity reflected: curiosity, empathy, and the courage to honor life, no matter how small or fragile. The medbay remained quiet, filled with soft lights and the gentle hum of the ship. Outside, stars stretched endlessly across the void, a reminder of the vastness of space and the many lives yet to discover. Mara knew this was only the beginning. The knowledge Lumo had shared could change their mission, their understanding of biology, and perhaps the future of interstellar exploration. And for Lumo, the small alien who had once been on the brink of death, a new hope emerged, not just for itself, but for an entire species. Mara promised herself silently that she would ensure its gift was honored and its species saved. The medbay glowed softly with the gentle pulse of Lumo's fur. Dr. Mara Hayes sat at the console, her fingers carefully tracing the decoded sequences that the tiny alien had shared. Each pattern, Each pulse, each subtle flicker had been translated into usable data. The knowledge Lumo had given them was more than instructions. It was a blueprint for regeneration, a map to save its species. Captain Ryland stood nearby, watching silently. The crew, once skeptical, now moved quietly, observing the incredible work Mara was leading. Even Engineer Jax had stopped making jokes. He was fully immersed in the significance of what was happening. Humanity had been given a gift, a small, fragile creature, dying yet intelligent, had bridged the gap between life and knowledge in a way that no human alone could have achieved. Mara looked down at Lumo, whose tiny eyes blinked slowly, glowing gently as if in acknowledgement. "We're going to honor you, little one," she whispered. "Your message will save your species. Your trust won't be wasted." The first step was to stabilize Lumo fully. Using the sequences embedded in its neural and biosignals, Mara adjusted the ship's medical systems. She applied subtle energy, calibrations, and regenerative micropulses, carefully monitoring Lumo's response. Slowly, steadily, the tiny alien's body responded. Its glow brightened, and its breathing became stronger. "This is remarkable," Mara said softly, almost to herself. "Even with its weakness, it's teaching us how to heal, how to give life." Captain Ryland approached. "Do you think we can replicate this for its species?" he asked. Mara nodded, eyes fixed on the console. "Yes. We have the protocols, the sequences. With time, resources, and care, we can begin trials that may allow an entire species to recover from near extinction." The crew began organizing efforts to simulate the regenerative processes. Scientists and engineers worked together, using the data Lumo had provided. Every small test was guided by the alien's encoded messages, each one verified against its living biosignals. Mara monitored carefully, ensuring that Lumo remained comfortable and safe during the work. As the days passed, Lumo's glow grew brighter, stronger, a sign that its own regenerative patterns were taking effect. Mara felt a deep sense of awe. This tiny creature, once near death, had become the key to hope, not just for itself, but for an entire species. Its courage, trust, and intelligence had created a bridge between humans and alien life, demonstrating the best of what humanity could offer: empathy, understanding, and the willingness to fight for life. One evening, Mara held Lumo in her arms again, rocking it gently. "You've done something extraordinary," she whispered. "You've shown that even the smallest life can hold immense value, knowledge, and hope. We'll honor that every day." The tiny alien responded, nudging her hand and pulsing its glowing fur in gentle waves. Mara smiled, feeling the warmth and trust radiating from it. "We're partners now," she said softly. "You and I, together. We'll make sure your species survives." Captain Ryland watched quietly from the doorway, silently acknowledging the power of the bond between Mara and Lumo. It was a lesson in humanity itself, the courage to value life, the intelligence to listen and learn, and the compassion to act when it mattered most. Lumo had trusted a human in its final moments, and that trust had given them all the chance to make a difference. Weeks passed as the crew applied the regenerative protocols to simulation models of Lumo's species. Every trial brought new hope, and every success was a testament to the tiny alien's contribution. Mara felt a sense of fulfillment she had never experienced before. They were not just exploring the stars, they were actively preserving life, honoring the connection between species, and demonstrating the extraordinary potential of empathy and intelligence combined. Finally, the day came when they could test. A stabilized protocol on a living specimen from Lumo's species, rescued from the same planet where they had found the tiny alien. The experiment was delicate, the team tense, but every sequence was guided by the knowledge Lumo had shared. Slowly, steadily, the alien being began to respond, its glow increasing and its body strengthening. Cheers broke out quietly among the crew, the first successful regeneration of a species that had been on the brink of extinction. Mara held Lumo close, tears in her eyes. "You see, little one? We've done it. You saved them. You've saved your world." Lumo responded with a soft, purring vibration, its glow pulsating brightly as if acknowledging the success. Mara smiled, her heart full. This was more than science. It was a story of trust, courage, and the power of understanding across species. Humanity had shown that they could be more than explorers. They could be protectors, learners, and friends. Captain Rylan approached Mara, his voice soft but proud. This is what it means to be human," he said. "Compassion, intelligence, and courage. We've seen it in you, Dr. Hayes, and in this tiny creature. You've proven that life, no matter how small, has value beyond measure." Mara nodded, looking down at Lumo. "And together, we've shown that even in the darkest moments, hope can shine. Lumo, you've given us more than life. You've given us humanity's best qualities reflected back at us." The tiny alien purred again, nestling comfortably in her arms. The medbay glowed softly, filled with the warmth of life, trust, and discovery. Outside, stars stretched endlessly across the black void of space, a reminder of infinite possibilities, and countless lives yet to encounter. For Mara, Lumo, and the crew of the Aurora, this was a victory not just for one species, but for the principles of empathy, intelligence, and courage that defined humanity. They had learned that even the smallest being could inspire great change, and that hope, when paired with understanding, could ripple across the universe. And as the ship continued its journey among the stars, the bond between human and alien remained, a glowing reminder that life, knowledge, and trust were treasures worth fighting for. Humanity had reached beyond itself, and in doing so had found something extraordinary: the power to save, to connect, and to hope. Lumo's fur pulsed gently in Mara's arms, a soft light in the vast darkness of space. It had been a fragile life, a dying alien on the brink of extinction. But now, through trust and understanding, it had become a symbol of hope, and Mara knew, with certainty, that humanity's compassion would continue to light the way, wherever the stars might lead them.